Hello guys, and welcome to this video where I will be teaching you the basics of coding in Python. Now, Python is one of the easiest programming languages that you can learn, and it's very simple to use, so it shouldn't be too difficult. So first off, I'm gonna start off by talking about variables. So a variable is something that stores a value. Just like in math, where x is a variable and it could be any number in your equation. In programming, variables can be any name that you give them, and they store uh, different types of data, such as strings and numbers, even booleans, which we'll get onto later. So, for example, a variable could be score. So when you put out the name of a variable and you type it out, to assign it a value, you put the equal sign and then whatever value you want to give it. So we could say score is equal to 100. And now this variable is storing the value 100. And say you wanted to print that out to the console. Whenever you want to print out anything to the console, you type in print and then put in parentheses, and then since it's a variable, we're just gonna give the name of the variable, and it's going to print out whatever the value of this variable. So when we run the program, as you can see here, it prints out 100. And you can also have multiple variables, like let's say x equals 1 and y equals 2. So here, when you print, you can also do math problems. For example, you could put x plus y. And here, as you can see, it gives you 3. And then if you wanted to multiply them, put in the star, and then you get 2. 1 times 2 equals 2. And to divide them, put in a slash, get 0.5. And to subtract them, as you can see, you get -1. So that's with variables. They can just store any data you give them. A variable could also be a string, which is words and letters. So let's say you have a variable called name. Name could be a string. So whenever you type in a string, you have to put it in quotation marks. So we could have a string named John. And here you could print out the name as well. So you could print out name, and it will give you John. One thing you gotta worry about when combining strings and numbers is that when you're printing two at the same time, they don't really work together. So you have to, when you're doing them at the same time, if you have a string in there, everything has to be a string. So for example, if you type in age equals 13. So if you type name plus age, it's not going to work out because this is an integer while this is a string. So if you want to turn you have to turn the integer into a string, so put that in parentheses, and you want to type in str, which is short for string, which converts this integer into a string, so these could work together, so you get John 13. So that's with variables. And as I mentioned, there are also different data types in Python. So the data types we have are strings, integers, floats, and booleans. So as I mentioned before, strings are any letters or words or combination of words. Integers are whole numbers, and floats are numbers with decimal points. And booleans are true or false. They could be one of two values, either true or false. So for example, name, someone's name would be a string. So we have, let's say, Jake. And then age would be an integer, so let's say 14. And a float could be their height. Which could be 2.5 meters, let's say that. And athletic could be a boolean. So we could put true. So these are the different data types in Python. You got strings, we have integers, floats, and booleans, which is true or false statements. And we could also have false in there as well. Now when you're typing out booleans, you type out either true or you type out false, and the first letter is always capitalized, and it'll turn a different color than all the other text. So these are data types in Python. And now I'm going to be moving on to functions. So what a function is like, say, a recipe for the cake. A function takes all the ingredients, puts them together, and gives you an output. And whenever you want to make a function, you start with def, which is defining a function. So after you type def, you put in the name of the function. So we can put def add. And then after you type in the name, you put in the parentheses and then a colon. Then when you press enter, it's automatically going to be indented, which is just showing that the next few lines are part of the function. So in here you could have x is equal to 1 plus 1. And then normally when you run this, the function is just going to run, but it's not going to give you a certain value. So if you want to return a value from the function, you're going to have to use the return command. So you type in return x, and that's going to return the value of x after this math is done. And then you can type print and then the name of the function. And then whenever you call a function in your program, you are going to put parentheses next to its name. So now when we run this code, it's going to print out the value of x, which is 2. And let me show you what happens if we don't have this return in here. So if we just do that, it doesn't return anything because we're not telling the function to return any values. And in a function, you could add way more stuff. This is just the basics of functions. For example, if you had a variable called name, and let's do Jake again, and then you have age, which is equal to 13, and then def, and then we could say intro, as he's going to be introducing himself. So then here you could make the function do print, and then whenever you want to print a specific text, instead of a variable you just put quotation marks and then you just put it in there, and you could say hi, my name is space, and then when you want to add, say, a variable, you put the plus sign, the name of the variable, and then we're going to add some more stuff to it, his age, and we're gonna put in, hi, my name is Jake, and I am, then we're gonna have to put his age. So here's the thing about different data types. Strings and integers won't work together in the same print statement, so you have to turn a integer into a string. So for example, if I just put age, it's not going to work out, as you can see. Oh wait, I forgot to call the function. So when you do make a function, you have to also call it out in order for it to, work. So we even called the function, and yeah, as you can see, it doesn't work because integers and strings won't. Yeah, it says it wants me to convert the integer into a string. So to do this, you just put the variable in parentheses, or the string in parentheses, the integer in parentheses, and then right next to it you put stir. And here, as you can see, now it works. Hi, my name is Jake and I am 13. So after you make the function, you call it in your program and then it'll run. So the next thing I'm going to do is if statements. So if statements just run lines of code if a certain condition is met. So for example, when we write an if statement, let's say Tommy age is equal to 2, and then Bobby age is equal to 3. And now if we put if Tommy age is less than Bobby age, so that will be our condition. So when you're writing an if statement, you write if and then the condition for that statement, and then after you do that, you put in a colon, you press enter, and it automatically indents, letting you know that the lines of code indented in that area are underneath this if statement. So if we do that, we can say that if that statement is true, then we can do print. We can have it print yes. So now when we run the code, it prints yes. And now if we make it to where if Tommy's age is greater than, it doesn't print anything because the statement is false. And with if statements, you can also have else's in there. So say that this statement isn't true and it can't print this out, but you want it to print out something else if it's not true. So what you do is you come down and you want to make sure it's on the same indentation as the if, and you write else. And then you put in a colon, you indent it, press enter, and then you can have it print no. So now if we do that, it prints out no. Also, you could have else if statements. So else if Bobby underscore age is less than 5. So what else if does is it's just saying else if this statement right here is true, then it's going to run the lines of code underneath that one. So you could have it write print no. Print yes. So now as you can see, it's going to say yes. So that's with if statements. Next we have while loops. So what while loops do is they keep running the same code over and over again while a certain condition is true. So, for example, if we type in while, so whenever you make a while loop, you type in while and then you put in the condition. While 1 is greater than 0. And then you could have it keep running commands. So say print yes. So since this is infinitely true forever, it's just going to keep on running yes, 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 yes. And now to end it, let's end the program. So that's how while loops work. And now next thing we're going to go over is conditionals and comparisons. So comparisons, you have symbols for them. You have equals, you have less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to, and you also have does not equal. So what each of these do is just saying that, like when you put these in if statements and loops as well. So it's the conditions. So if you say, for example, if 1 is equal to 1, that if statement or that while loop is going to keep on running. And here, for example, if you say if 1 is less than 5, that's also a true statement. It's going to keep on running. Depending on what if these are true or false, it's going to return a boolean, which is true or false. And these are the different comparisons that you can do. Okay, let me show you an example. Okay, so here in our code we have score. So score is equal to 0, and here we have a while loop. While score is less than 10, it's going to keep printing yes. And now the way we can break the while loop is each time we can have score plus equals 1. So now what this plus equals is doing is that it's just adding 1. And if you wanted to subtract 1, you could do minus equals 1. But to break the while loop, we need to do plus equals. So what happens when we run the code is it prints yes 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 times, because it takes 10 iterations of the while loop to make the score above 10. So that would be all, guys. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you learned a lot from this video on how to code in Python.